Looking at the bigger picture now, some look at the current US-China rivalry and call it a new Cold War. How much do you agree with that characterization?
It's unlike the Cold War between the two superpowers in last century because China is much stronger than the former Soviet Union, and the economic interdependence is much deeper in this globalization era. So I think it's impossible to have a Cold War between two close blocs as we had last century.
I am hesitant to use that term because I think it obscures as much as it clarifies. There's a big difference between the Cold War that the U.S. and the rest of the Western world had with the Soviet Union and our confrontation with China today, and that is trade. China is still the U.S.'s largest trading partner. That was never the case in our relationship with the Soviet Union. China is also the largest trading partner of all the major economies in the Indo-Pacific region. And so by calling it Cold War 2.0, that kind of focuses on the military balance and the kind of military issues at the expense of this whole other arena of competition where, frankly, the U.S. is not doing very well relative to our position in the past. And China's advantage has been growing. And so I don't like that term simply because it obscures what will be an important part of the competition going forward.
Now, the CCP recently passed a resolution cementing Xi Jinping's place in the party's history. What does that mean for Taiwan and for the rest of the Asia-Pacific region going forward?
Yeah, well, it means unless Xi Jinping drops dead tomorrow, we're going to have to deal with him for a while. And so it's helpful to develop as good an understanding of who he is, what he values, and especially who advises him and how he makes decisions. I've been struck by how little we know relative to previous leaders about Xi Jinping and how little we know, especially about the policymaking process within Zhongnanhai. So I hope there's a lot of focus over the next few years on getting better intelligence, either open source or classified, about what Xi Jinping wants, what he worries about, how he goes about his day, what are the sources of information he's getting. To give you just a concrete example of how important this is, we don't know whether what I would call his failing Taiwan policy is a result of him simply not knowing that it's failing or simply not caring that it's failing. And we don't really know whether he himself is making all the decisions on Taiwan or whether it hasn't risen to his level. And so the uncertainty there means that people who have all of their kind of preconceived notions about what the CCP is and what Xi Jinping is kind of fill in all the vacuum, fill in the blank space with their own notions. And so we get very, very divergent predictions about what Xi Jinping will do over the next 5 years from people looking at exactly the same data points. We need a better understanding of Xi Jinping.
As history shows, these kind of totalitarian regimes are quite irrational. They will become a big threat to neighboring countries before they destroyed themselves. So I think this resolution is really bad for Asia, and we all are quite worried.